Hello everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present our research. My name is Milena Okoń, and Dr. Jordan Allison and I are both from the University of Gloucestershire in the United Kingdom. In this presentation, I will discuss what factors are associated with students' engagement with ChatGPT and how this engagement relates to their perceived development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Cybersecurity provides an important context for studying generative AI because students regularly engage in debugging, threat analysis, evaluation, and decision-making, activities that require higher-order thinking. At the same time, ChatGPT can provide explanations, solutions, debugging support, and assistance with threat analysis. This raises our central educational question. Does AI support these cognitive processes or risk replacing them? Generative AI offers potential benefits such as efficiency, accessibility, and personalized support, but it also raises concerns about dependency, misinformation, and academic integrity. Rather than focusing only on whether students accept and use ChatGPT, the study goes beyond technology acceptance. It examines what shapes students' engagement, how ChatGPT usage relates to perceived skill development, and what role university support might play. These questions guided the development of the model presented next. The model places ChatGPT usage as its center. The study examined 7 potential factors associated with usage, including perceived usefulness, motivation for learning, perceived self-efficacy, ethical awareness, learner expectations, perceived learning performance, and university support. It then examined the relationship between ChatGPT usage and perceived skill development, as well as a direct relationship between university support and this outcome. Interaction quality was originally included in the model, but was removed because it didn't meet the required reliability criteria. The study used a cross-sectional survey of 84 students enrolled in IT-related programs at the University of Gloucestershire. The questionnaire contained 45 items measured on a 5-point Likert scale. The data were analyzed using PLS-SEM in Smart PLS-4 with 5,000 bootstrap samples. Importantly, this was an observational study based on self-reported data. Therefore, the results concern associations and students' perceptions rather than objectively measure improvement in performance. The survey captured multiple dimensions of students' experiences with ChatGPT. The study measured ChatGPT engagement, perceived skill development, aspects of the learning experience, as well as learner responsibility and institution-related factors. Together, these constructs allow the study to examine ChatGPT engagement from a broader perspective than technology acceptance alone. Turning to the results, the model explains 70.9% of the variance in ChatGPT usage and 45.7% of the variance in perceived skill development. This indicates substantial explanatory power of ChatGPT engagement, while also suggesting that other factors beyond our model contribute to perceived skill development. The central finding concerns the relationship between ChatGPT usage and students' perceived skill development. As shown here, ChatGPT usage was significantly and positively associated with students' perceived skill development. This was the strongest positive association in the structural model. In other words, students reporting greater ChatGPT usage also tended to report greater perceived development of these skills. However, this is an association based on self-reported perceptions. The study then examined the factors associated with ChatGPT usage. Although several coefficients were positive, only perceived usefulness and motivation for learning showed statistically significant positive associations with ChatGPT usage. Perceived learning performance and learner expectations also showed positive associations, but these were not statistically significant. University support was also not significantly associated with ChatGPT usage. Interestingly, ethical awareness and perceived self-efficacy showed statistically significant negative association with ChatGPT usage. These negative associations reveal a more complex pattern of engagement than might be expected from conventional technology acceptance perspectives. One possible interpretation is that students with greater ethical awareness might engage with AI more cautiously, while students with higher perceived self-efficacy might feel less need to rely on it. However, these interpretations require further investigation. Overall, the findings suggest that students' engagement with generative AI is more complex than technology acceptance alone. University support revealed another interesting contrast. It was not significantly associated with ChatGPT usage, but it was significantly and positively associated with perceived skill development. This suggests that university support might be more relevant to how students perceive the educational value of AI-supported learning than to how much they use ChatGPT. So what does this mean for education? The findings suggest that the goal should not simply be more AI use, but rather more critical, responsible, and guided use. Students should be encouraged to verify AI-generated information and understand the reasoning behind the answers provided. Ethical awareness should form part of AI literacy, while educators should design learning activities in which AI supports reasoning and students are still required to reflect on and justify their decisions. In other words, the educational goal should be AI as a cognitive support rather than cognitive substitution. To conclude, there are three main takeaways. First, ChatGPT usage was positively associated with perceived skill development. Second, engagement was shaped not only by usefulness, but also by motivation, ethical awareness, and self-efficacy. Third, university support was associated with perceived skill development, but not with ChatGPT usage itself. These findings suggest that the important educational question is not simply whether students use AI, but how they use it. Our final message is therefore simple. AI should support students' reasoning, not replace it. Thank you very much for listening. If you would like to discuss the study further, please feel free to contact Dr. Jordan Allison. His contact details are shown on the slide.